Well, welcome in to another episode of Motor City Metrics. I am Mike Papchek here with Yoop. Rogelio is taking the night to compete in his softball playoffs. He prefaced this. He said he'd probably be at the show because there's no way they're going to win in the first game of today. And you just posted the Ted Lasso believe gift.
Believe. You gotta believe.
And then we get a text about an hour ago that just says, "Yoop, you were right." So, Roger, he's going on an Eduardo Valencia type streak, I'm sure, to power his team through the playoffs there. But
sure, this was like Team USA beating the Russians, man.
I can't wait for him to regale us with the way that this season ends. Chris may be joining us a little bit later, and Ashley is taking another week off here, doing some school stuff. Either way, welcome in, everybody. Thanks again, really, for coming out. Honestly, just because it's been a pretty depressing week of baseball. We started last week's show, Thursday, last week. The Tigers had a playoff spot. Of course, there's a bunch of games to go, but they were in that third wild card. Things were looking up. They were playing, beatable teams, you thought. And then we get hosed by the White Sox. Excuse me, they get hosed. I don't like when people say we. They get hosed, just embarrassed by the White Sox, just excruciating to watch. And then, honestly, the more embarrassing thing is losing to the Pirates. The Pirates being kind of, that you had the same record as them during that series in the NL. Granted, they're a little bit farther out of the playoffs, but it was almost kind of like, oh, let's see where similar teams in the NL and AL match up, and Pirates took 2 of 3. It feels like a real wasted opportunity.
Well, yeah, there's no question they had the opportunity to really take a step forward in the division. And if they really went crazy, take a stranglehold on the wild card spot. But what happened is, the White Sox and the Pirates are both teams that can hit a lot of home runs, and the Tigers let them hit a lot of home runs, and things weren't close at times. It's interesting. The White Sox series, there was a 1-run loss and a 2-run loss amongst getting swept there. But it never felt that close to me. It just felt like that the White Sox had the upper hand on the Tigers throughout the weekend. And they just couldn't keep the bats quiet. And then Pittsburgh, we look at them, they're third in baseball in runs scored. So they're not a bad team despite the record. I think it's in the middle of August or so here, and they've already hit the most home runs they've ever hit at their home stadium in the 25 years that it's been open. So the Tigers pitching staff just couldn't keep the ball in the park enough to beat those guys, and here we are.
I mean, yeah, we had that awful Jackson Jobe start. It's never good when you plunk the first two guys. Really, just on the way he did it too, like the back of the foot, just
yeah. I always think, especially Casey Mize, I harped on him all the time. I feel almost the same way already about Jobe. I'm going to watch a little bit more. You got to control, to me, when you're a pitcher like him, you got to control the inner half of the plate. That has to be your half. And if he would have hit those two guys with heaters in the hip, I would have been fine. But yeah, they're just those little dinky curveballs that got away from him and hit the back foot. That sucked. And he was actually lucky he got out of that allowing just 1 run. But then he had the inning where he fell apart.
Yeah, and obviously Jackson Jobe, he deserves a little bit of slack in a situation that they don't really have any room to cut him a little slack. We did talk about it on last week's show. You needed good, strong innings from your starters. And then Jackson Jobe goes out there and he just does that. You know what, old BK? I saw this. I know the answer is May 18th because, man, did I think that they were playing to break out of that for the White Sox. It was May 18th. Maybe I know it was May and they were 18-18.
Yeah, 18-18. Yeah, that came to my mind too. I think it was.
Yeah, let's see here. Well, sorry, our cracked research staff is me scrolling while I'm talking here, so
That's
our
all right.
budget's not huge for that. Yeah, so 18-18 would have been the last time they were 500. That was the beginning of the Boston series, the beginning of May. So it was May 4th, actually, so even longer ago.
Yeah.
That was the first of 5 straight losses when they lost to go 18-18. They lost 4 more, 2 against Boston, 2 against Kansas City, and that was in the midst of the Tigers. Oh my goodness! Like it's almost just like it's like the trauma blocked this out, but they won twice from May 4th to May 24th.
Yeah,
The Tigers won 2 baseball games.
that was ugly.
Whoo, man. And, I guess a more positive person than I may say that they're not playing that kind of baseball anymore. And sure, while that is true, we are kind of just still seeing the I don't know, the reasons that they were losing back then. They're kind of starting to show their ugly heads again.
Well, there's a few defensive miscues that are poor timed. The bullpen, obviously, we'll talk about that. It's interesting. I still believe the offense is a bigger problem than some people are saying. With the way the bullpen is constructed, they have to get bigger leads to give themselves more breathing room. And right now, even though they've had all the shutouts, 3 runs isn't going to win you a lot of ball games, and they still are putting up 3 or fewer runs far too often.
Right, and I mean you're kind of bringing up the offense situation. One of the things I really noticed is it's kind of being carried by the rookies a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
We're seeing Ben Malgiri, we're seeing Eduardo Valencia, we're seeing. I mean, even McGonigal's kind of in his own little mini slump here. He did go 2 for 6 in that game against Pittsburgh, but like for the most part, the offense has been powered by rookies, and we're kind of seeing some of the veterans fall back. Baez has looked lost at the plate. He's kind of almost looking like his pre-2024 self, where I think he might have been the most hated man in Detroit sports.
He is hitting everything either off the fists or off the end of the bat. He has not. I cannot recall off the top of my head the last time he barreled one up, even for an out. Even if you got a couple of scorching outs, I'd be like, okay, maybe they'll start falling here soon. But he's making horrible contact, and I don't know. They need him defensively. I'm sure they need the versatility to play a couple positions, but I don't know. I don't know how much longer they can go with him. I think they're going to have to even commit even harder to the young players. Like, for instance, right now, I'll tell you, I look forward to how Lee at bats. I really do. I like his approach. I love the fact that every now and then he really swings at one. He makes good hard contact. He runs fast enough to beat out somewhere he makes soft contact. I'm excited to see where he goes over these next few weeks, but then into next year.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, I don't know if I mentioned this on show or like off air beforehand, but I was telling you guys that I could see how Lee being a fan favorite at some point. I mean, He has definitely been consistent. He has played his way kind of into the roster picture when I think that he was a little bit of an afterthought. Like you almost thought, I remember last year coming out of camp, we thought that he may be able to break camp last year and like do something. And he kind of just toiled away, kind of struggled a little bit in AAA. But the way he's been playing lately, he's just been one of the few bright spots. I mean, for a guy that we've been giving a lot of credit all year, like we have to point out, I think Dylan Dingler had 1 hit in the last 6 games. I'm double checking the math here, but I see 1 hit in the last week. It's I look, when you have a guy that is playing at MVP level and he gets 1 hit in 6 games, like that's the guy that's supposed to lead your offense. I'm not saying it's not good that the rookies are contributing. It's just ultimately that's one of the biggest reasons they're not winning when your catcher's just kind of falling apart.
He's batting in the 2 or the 3 hole, right? I mean, spots where you need production. And I don't want to say I saw it coming because it's not that simple. But I've been worried all year that he catches so much, and then on his off days he still DHs. He never gets downtime, and I don't even blame Hinch so much for that. They need him. They can't afford to be without him, especially when they fell to 22 and 38. They had to go with who, the best they got. And I just have to believe we're seeing some of that now, where we're in the dog days of August, and he's feeling it.
You're right, Michael. My bad. I closed one of the games. My apologies. I have 300 tabs open. Thank you. But yeah, he had 2 hits the last 6 games. And they won one of them. And I'm not trying again. You're right. It's not like we're trying to dog on him, but it's when, unfortunately, it's just kind of like they cleaned up some mistakes. We love Jake Rogers, but when Jake Rogers is your backup catcher, you're pretty much forced to play the better offensive guy in every situation that you can afford to.
Yeah.
So you're right. I don't really think I blame Hinch necessarily. It's just, what else are you supposed to do? You're given the roster that you've got, and that extends to something that we want to talk about, and I might as well bring it up now. Is the bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
Is you pretty much work with what you got. And when we were prepping for this show, I think there are 2 really polarizing bullpen guys that we can really discuss, and I think people are going to have a lot of opinions on. And I think those opinions will be mostly negative. I can't imagine really any positive. I mean, and we'll start with everybody's favorite, Kyle Finnegan.
Yes. Well, Finnegan was actually, he was obviously the only real major league trade deadline acquisition last season, right? And he came over and he had good results. But the one thing about Kyle Finnegan last year, I was kind of the low man on him at times because I just saw a lot of hard contact that either missed the foul pole and went foul by like a foot or found somebody's glove. I mean, he gave up a lot of hard contact and had a lot of luck, good luck.
Oh, well.
But I just don't see him as a shutdown reliever. I never have. And now we've gone into this year, and, the first couple months, he was living right and getting great results again. But now as the season has worn on and he might be wearing down a little, you can just see he's very, very vulnerable.
Yeah, and so I had some fun with this. I pulled up a bunch of stats on Kyle Finnegan, right? And we were talking about this a little bit before the show. It's amazing when you compare the stat sites and the things that you can get from baseball and the things you can draw. What I mean is Kyle Finnegan is worth, per his baseball reference page, 1.1 B-WAR. That is tied for the highest B-WAR he's ever had in a season in his career. He's had 1.1 like 3 other times. It's amazing to me when that's the case, because when you pull up something like Baseball Savant, which is another wonderful tool that you have, you find that he's regressed in almost every statistical category from last year. You're looking at his batting average, his expecting batting average against, slugging percentage and expected slugging percentage. Those have jumped up by almost 100 points. He is getting lit up.
That's going to catch up to you.
The irony is I'm saying that, and one of the only things that doesn't make any sense, and again, this is why stats for relievers are so flawed, and I think it's hard to contextualize how a reliever is really doing when you're looking at stats like this individually. Is if I told you his average exit velocity was almost 1 mile per hour lower this year than it was last year, like that doesn't sound right at all to me. But that's one of the only things that he hasn't regressed in. Just his fastball, his basic fastball has the almost one of the worst reliever fastballs that you can throw. The guy, opposing pitcher or opposing batters. Here, I got this written down here. Where we got? Well, in the last 28 days, the slash line against Kyle Finnegan. I know guys are drooling, hoping that their at bat comes up in the Kyle Finnegan innings, because 28 games. Granted, that's only 7 1/3 innings. It feels like we have seen Kyle Finnegan so much more than 7 1/3 innings in the last 28 days. But in that time span, guys are hitting .313 with a .421 on base percentage, .594 slugging. That's a .1015 OPS. That is insane. He has
And that's
6
why you've
walks.
only seen him 7 innings.
Right. And he's got 6 walks to 5 Ks in that span as well.
Yeah. Yeah. The walks are a killer. And, it's amazing. I think I mentioned to you earlier, he had like a 5-week stretch this year where he walked a lot of guys, but somehow none of them came around to score, which is, so lucky that it just defies logic.
Yeah. And so I don't know. WAR is a dangerous stat, I guess, because it all depends on where you get it. And unbelievable that he's most valuable. And yeah, honestly, LA Ninja Bees, I think maybe I look at Drew Summers as the reliever with the best upside. I think if you go, I don't think it's crazy to say this. I think Waguespack, results based, might be the best reliever in the bullpen. I don't know what that says about his future. I think Drew Summers has the best outlook, and I think that if he can learn to really rein in his command, he has the arsenal to do it. He has the arsenal to be that kind of guy. But otherwise, and I don't even really know how I feel about Waguespack because he's started to kind of slow down a little bit, and honestly, not a ton of innings. I think he's at 21, 22 since he's been here. So it's just I think Drew Summers is the best guy they have. And it doesn't seem like the trust is there for him to, they have been giving him 8th innings. I think we've seen him for 1 save attempt and he landed it this year. But otherwise, we're just looking at, and this kind of goes back to how we started this conversation. AJ Hinch is kind of just throwing who he's got. And he did talk about how part of how you guys have to fight through it is you have to keep putting them out there. It's just when you need results in a close wild card race, you don't really have the time. You're running out of time to really do anything with a guy like that when he feels like Bo Brisky. What I mean by that is I always looked at Bo Brisky as the white flag. When we put Bo Brisky in, it was AJ Hinch saying, I need innings from somebody. I looked at Bo Brisky and almost Kyle Finnegan in the same vein. I know people will jokingly say, where's Jake Rogers when you need him? They should have re-signed him as a reliever. But man, I'd almost at least watching Jake Rogers pitch is funny, and I'm engaged. Kyle Finnegan, I'm literally watching my TV like this, I'm cracking my hands, and then when something happens, I'm shying away. It's not that.
Well, I think that I was going to bring up Bo Brisky too, but in a more positive light. In 24, Bo Brisky was a serviceable reliever, helped them, through the playoffs and so on. I think I'm just wondering, is Jacob Waguespack kind of on that road right now where he's going to have these couple months where he's pretty serviceable and he's helping them. And I just don't know if there's a future there. Right. I think you just enjoy now and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Because I said, even back then, Bo Brisky saved a playoff game. Okay. Who saw that coming? That makes him a successful 27th round draft pick or whatever he was, So whether he ever does anything good again, we'll see. But, it's so interesting to me when you look back at 24 and you look at pitching chaos and what they got out of that. I think actually now they might be best served to do it again because that way you get guys like Troy Melton and Keeter Montero and others pitching in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings potentially. I know they're not going to do that, so people don't have to get on me and say you're an idiot. I get it. I am an idiot. But second, I know they won't do it. But this seems actually like the kind of year where it might work because the bullpen, as it's structured right now, is so fragile that if they were getting some of their better arms late in games, that could be the way to go.
I know that the tendency. I think the fact that it was so successful, I don't look at that as the rule. I think that it's an anomaly, and I don't know if. You talk about it all the time. I think 3 of those relievers that you had that year, you might have gotten. I'm talking.
Yeah.
Gunther, Bo Brisky, probably, and then
Hannafy.
Yeah, Hannafy. Yes, thank you. You knew exactly where I was going with this. You got those 3 guys probably had the best innings they will ever pitch in the majors at that time. Yes. A lot of people, I've seen at least 2 people bring up they wanted to move Montero to the pen, but I feel like that's a waste. Maybe my feelings get a little bit in the way. I do love the story. I'm a little bit bought in emotionally. I love that they've had this kid in their system for 8 years, and then he just works out. Turns out, holy crap, this kid can pitch.
Yeah.
And here, Deadly Ninja Bees agrees with me. I agree. I see Montero as a starter. I think that their reluctance to keep him there in the bullpen long term at any point in the last year and a half, like going back to last year, I think it reinforces that the organization feels the same way. I don't think that they want. I don't think that they're ready to relegate him to a bullpen role. I'm not saying they're against it, but go ahead, you.
See, I don't view it as relegating him permanently. I think what's best. What could they do to get through this year and find success?
Yeah.
And I think next year, then yes, he's a star. I think he's proven himself where he should get an opportunity to start in next year's rotation. I think that would be great. But to get through this year, I don't know. I mean,
You're right. I mean, ultimately, you're right. And it's kind of what we were alluding to before. I mean, to mention this as well. AJ Hinch has to use the players that are at his disposal, right? So while he has these guys, he has to find a way to make it work. And unfortunately, I mean, even Kiner Montero got lit up. It was against the White Sox. So even he did not have that was against the Pirates. I guess not lit up, but he didn't have a great start.
One bad inning, really, yeah. He was cruising along through 4 and then
he did
lost him a little bit.
You're right. So, but that being said, we're looking at another, and just, I mean, at this point, it feels like we're ragging on the guys a little bit. But I just want to bring up another guy in the bullpen that is like, he's confounding me because, especially while I was doing more research for this, it's confounding the kind of season that Kenley Jansen has. I feel like as the closer in baseball, when you're in a bullpen, you have the microscope on you, right? Like guys know the ninth inning guy, like casual fans will know who he is. Even like people know the closer, people know the guy that's in there for the last outs. And when he doesn't do well, people remember it forever. I'm not saying you don't remember when other guys, like obviously Kyle Finnegan, but Kyle Finnegan has been like a season-long buildup. It's just you saw the cracks early, and he just got progressively worse. Kenley Jansen, on the other hand. So let me give you some more stats, Yoop, all right?
Let's go.
Some more metrics for Motor City Metrics here. Now, I'm looking at the time he got off of the IL, because remember, he did briefly spend some time on the IL at the beginning of June. He came back on June 13th. Through the game before the disaster in Pittsburgh, where he gave up the 2 home runs. He gave up the 2 solo shots, went from 3-2, 4-3 loss. That was the rubber match. It was a huge game in the series.
Yep.
Before that game, I'm just using that as my sample size. He had 18 2/3 innings pitched in that time period. 11 hits, 7 runs, 6 are earned, 1 home run, 11 walks, 20 Ks. That's good for a 2.89 ERA, 3.41 FIP. I know we don't, ERA and stuff, dangerous with a reliever, but we're throwing in there. He had 1 loss, and it was the extra inning game in Houston where he was out there for more than 1 inning. And not only that, he gave up 4 runs, 3 of them earned in that game. So in one of those games, he gave up more than half of the total runs he gave up in that time span. Yeah. He's only walked 2 guys since the start of August. That's 6 appearances. 1 home run since then, you. So when I tell you all of these things, this seems like a pretty solid reliever. Why is it that every time Kenley Jansen's on the mound, I'm puckering up and I'm ready to sob and I'm just expecting the worst? Like, why? And I feel like everybody agrees. Why is that how we perceive him?
Well, I mean, he introduced himself poorly, right? Early in the year, he gave up some home runs. So that is the narrative that gets set, and that's that dog's the guy who is in the 9th inning role. It's the premier spot in the bullpen. The game is won or lost at that moment. It leaves a lasting taste in everybody's mouth, one way or the other. And yeah, he was getting by pretty well for a few weeks. No,
nice choice of words.
Yeah, he was getting by, and hey, he's a veteran. He's an old guy. He's thrown a lot of innings. More power to him. He's I'm sure these bad results are killing him. I'm sure it is. I mean, he's a competitor, but you can just see from back in his Dodger days, he threw just a little. He was over. He threw a lot of pitches in the zone as well. Then he didn't fool a lot of people. He came at people, but he had a little bit more movement. He had a little bit more velo, and even last year when he was with the Angels, he had a bad start, but then he was money for the last 3-4 months of the year. He did great. But even then, some of the statistics were telling us that he's slowing down a little bit. And Harris took a chance that he had one more year in the tank. And unfortunately, he's had this spate of home runs late in games. At least 5 of them have been walk-offs and a couple of tied games. The big moments have gone against him.
Right. And Justin George here. Justin St. George, excuse me. That's kind of what I was going to get into next a little bit is, and I've kind of alluded to it. I look at Kenley Jansen. I don't think he's the worst guy in the bullpen. And I think that if you put him in maybe a 7th, 8th inning role, it's not going to be what he wants, definitely. And I know maybe he won't be happy, and that may affect performance. I know he's talked openly how much he wants to hit that 400 save mark. But I think if you put him in lower leverage situations, I think he's a fine kind of guy. Like the numbers that I told you, like those are fine result numbers. Granted, like I'm not bringing any hard hit like I brought up with Finnegan or expected batting average or anything like that. But with that, I don't really think anybody in the bullpen is slated to be that lockdown closer. Drew Summers, he's not there yet. Tyler Holton, he's been better of late, but I mean, even 2 years ago when he was arguably the best reliever in baseball, they didn't use him as the closer. That wasn't what he was. That and maybe he needs to, I don't know, maybe you try to get him to learn it, but that was never his role. His role was to come in and dominate in not lower leverage situations, but just a little bit earlier in games, be the starter, be the guy immediately after the starter. I just don't think anybody on their roster is really, and is there an elite closer that they could even really go for? Those kinds of guys like typically don't really hit the market that often,
Right. I've long been a believer that you need to create your own closers.
Yeah.
I really do. And going out and shopping for them, the Tigers have shown year after year, in our fairly recent history of this century, it's you invest in some of these guys who are at the end of the rope, you're going to be disappointed. And I think they need to build more relievers. For whatever reason, they just don't produce the guys with the ultra high velocity, that can just rear back and blow people away. If Scott Harris changes anything in the formula of what they do in the minors, is they got to find more guys like that they can grow into their own bullpen.
Right. And somebody brought up, I left it up there, but will River Ryan be ready? I mean, it's a hamstring injury. I saw that he was getting some work in on the side about a week ago. He's throwing in the lower 90s, so not like fully up to full velocity. But I do know that he's getting work, and that would absolutely be an instant jolt to this bullpen. Yeah. Absolutely. I do think if we remember when around the trade deadline we talked about this, that major league ready kind of guy was one of the things that Harris said he had to have in a Skubal trade. So I do think that that's their plan, is that once he's ready and once they feel like he's back, that they'll bring him up. It's just, it's a hamstring injury. It's fickle. You don't know when it's better until it's better. Every timeline's different. You really don't know. So, how serious is it? Is it getting worse? Apparently it's getting better, but you can tweak something and that could set you back weeks. It's just, You don't want to.
He's got to get his arm back in shape.
Right.
I would hope. You'd love to think September 1st, but I don't know if that's realistic right now. Same with Riley Green for that matter. But yeah, if River Ryan could give them some innings through September, this is gonna again. People are gonna think I'm crazy too. Andrew Sears looked good the other night. I mean, he was missing bats for 5 innings. Could he come up and give them 15 decent innings from the bullpen in these last few weeks? I don't totally discount the idea, because if his stuff is good enough, he's just got to fool people for a month. And would that help them win a couple games here? I don't know.
Right. I mean, well, and that's ultimately the question is throwing one of these guys into this mess, a bit of a bullpen, going to save it, or is it just going to set them back? Is the chaos going to affect them mentally? I mean, kind of just.
I don't think so. That gets thrown out a lot. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong even, but I just think I think we don't give these guys credit that they're mentally tough enough to deal with a little bit of failure, especially if it's only over a major league debut over the course of a month. I think he'd be fine no matter how it went, but that would have to be proven one way or the other.
Right. I'm not even saying I believe that. I'm just saying that's something you have to consider. Obviously, basketball 2004 says I feel like every year we have one of these guys where it feels like the Tigers are showing you exactly how they feel about him. 2 years ago, it was, oh my goodness, his name escapes me. Matt Manning. Wow. Kind of saw 2 years ago when you had the pitching chaos that we've been alluding to. We had the lack of starters. They needed starting pitching, and there Matt Manning sat on the AAA roster, not called up. Last year, we saw with Casey Mize getting left off the postseason roster, and great. And when he got traded, that they didn't even approach him with a contract extension.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looping these in with Max Anderson because I'm just saying, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck. We're seeing how the organization kind of feels about him. He had a chance. There were talks about him maybe making the team out of camp. How many rookies are on this team past him? He kind of has the same issue that Justin Henry and Malloy had, and I mean that from a defensive standpoint, because offensively they are a bit different. But from a defensive standpoint, it's where does he play? Crickets. Yeah. I don't have the board like Roger does. Maybe I should set that up, but cricket noises, man. You don't know where you're going to play him, and if it's not clear the way that Scott Harris and AJ Hinch run this club, if you don't have a defensive position that you can contribute in, preferably multiple of them, especially if you're a young player, you don't really have a spot on the roster. So where's he going to play? Who do you want him to take defensive innings from?
Yeah, nobody. You could DH against lefties, I suppose. He could pinch hit, in that role. And a lot of times what's probably going to happen here, someone's going to twist an ankle or pull a quad, and he might get a chance. That's probably his pathway right now.
Right. Oh goodness, so many things happening. My apologies.
Going back,
I don't know. Yeah, and that's ultimately what it is. He's bad in multiple positions. I'm sorry, I completely lost my train of thought there for a second. But yeah, it's just we've seen how they feel about Max Anderson. I mean, they brought up Brett Callahan past him. They brought up Ben Malgier. They have brought up a ton of guys that if Max Anderson was going to get a chance, I feel like he would have. I don't really see him having an easy path, or I think he's off the 40-man this offseason,
Yeah, possible. Let's talk about Brett Callahan real quick. I mean, it's unfortunate. All his big moments, and he's had some really fun, cool moments. It's been great to watch. The Tigers have lost every game.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. He had the big triple on his debut. He had the bomb of a home run in Pittsburgh. He had, I think he did have 2 RBIs in one game they won this week as well. But he's had a lot of great moments, and they've all been kind of dampened a little bit by the club losing, but he's off to a great start. He's been fun to watch. He looks like a good athlete. I did not expect we'd even see him this year. So it's a really great surprise.
I mean, yeah, it's a good time to bring up. I mean, we were just talking about all these rookies that are passing Max Anderson. That's kind of where they're at right now. You have Brett Callahan contributing. You have Eduardo Valencia, who's still contributing greatly. Max Clark is a bit different. I think he has a bit more pedigree. He has a bit more. I think he has a bit longer of a leash. He's more in their long-term plans, I think, before he contributed anything. But outside of that, wait, hold on. I got my list here. So we have, Hao Yu Lee, huge contribution from a rookie. But hold on, we'll go back to like Brett Callahan. You're right. He feels like what he's been doing lately. He's kind of what I wanted, and I think a lot of fans wanted Max Clark to do when he joined the roster. Is it seems like he's like the fun young spark plug, like the young kid that's just kind of playing with fire, and he's just hot and hoping that the team can rally around him. And that's not fair. It's not to say that Max Clark hasn't been, Max Clark has been fine. I don't think Max Clark has been bad. He started off hot, had a little bit of a slump. He had a couple hits against Pittsburgh. I'm not worried about Max Clark at all.
I think he's been a plus defensively.
And he's been a fun, yes, very fun defensively. He hasn't collided with anybody in the outfield yet either, so that's a big plus.
That's right.
But I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not even saying that to be mean to Parker Meadows, but like I cannot believe that's how it happened. But we got Max Clark now; it's all good. But the way that we're seeing a combination of power, we literally are seeing guys with multiple tools that are coming up though too. Mm-hmm. We're seeing them hit with power. We're seeing, obviously Valencia still has like a 1150 OPS. Brett Callahan is 1150 OPS. I know these are tiny numbers. It's just fun to see him so big, even though there's only, a handful of at-bats. They're contributing with speed. They're contributing with the defense. Now, Valencia hasn't been quite as poor at catcher as I feel like he may have been billed as before he was brought up. Now, I'm not saying he's a great catcher, but he's been all right. He's held his own behind the dish, and that's surprising to me.
As an amateur observer, he's done nothing to embarrass himself that I've seen. I'm sure if you brought some catching coordinator from some minor league system and they picked it apart what he's doing, they could probably find some flaws. But looks fine to me. He's doing well. I love the swing. I'll tell you, the home run swing, it looks like a swing that was built to hit homers. So I think that's a great backup catcher to have on your team, a guy that can catch a decent game and has a good shot at slugging a homer for you when he does play.
Yeah, and and you talked about this before the show started too. I'm gonna steal your thunder a little bit. It's fun to watch the young guys right now. I'm sorry. I know it's a bit cliche, and I know that's something you kind of go to when the team's not doing that well. And I'm feeling pretty poor after a 1-5 week when you had everything in front of you.
Well, we've seen a lot of Jake Rogers over the years, right? We've seen a lot of Matt Vierling. We know that James Outman is probably not long for the Tigers universe. Okay. And I think we all kind of knew Jace Young probably isn't in the future plans either. Right. So and maybe some people are tired of the struggles of Spencer Torkelson, the ups and the downs and the downs and the downs. Right. And the occasional ups. So if you're tired of all those sagas of those players, this infusion of youngsters led by McGonigal from day one, and then all the others who have been interspersed here throughout the months of the season, it has been a good time to watch and to speculate and kind of dream a little bit about what this team can become over the next couple of years. If a couple more of these guys join them, like Bryceño and Bryce Rayner and Andrew Sears, they're building a pretty nice young core unit if things continue to grow like we've seen.
Right. Now OBK was, dare I say it, Jahmai Jones, 2025.
Yeah.
I mean, am I wrong though, you? I'm just saying.
He was hot for a while. I don't know, but yeah, he had a couple of home runs, but I think OBK here is talking more like Marcus Thames type, right? A guy who can come off the bench and really have a multi-homer game.
Now, hold on. So I'm trying to find this. Someone else. And just always the Tiger brings up, do other teams have the same amount of injuries that the Tigers have? Now, it depends on how you look at it. The Tigers have missed throughout the cumulative season. They've had 26 players with 30 stints. That is pretty close to the top. However, there are contending teams. I mean, there's the Toronto Blue Jays, been very injured all year. The Chicago Cubs, been very injured, been missing a ton of pitching all year. I mean, the Rockies, but I don't really know how much we consider the Rockies.
Like even the
Giants.
White Sox, Murakami was out for a while. I think Chase Meidroth might have missed a little bit of time.
I mean, the Dodgers have had a baton now. I will say they are tied with currently, this is according to Sport Track, we see the Tigers have 14 guys on the IL right now versus the Cubs and the Blue Jays have 15 each.
Oh, my.
So, and I don't know if this is I don't know how far this runs, unfortunately. Maybe I shouldn't. This is MLB injured players. So, yeah, that's where they're at.
Where are the White Sox?
Let's see. The White Sox have had 18 total players. They have 12 currently. So they have been kind of hit more recently with that.
Okay.
They have 4 guys getting Tommy John right now.
Oof. Who did?
It says White Sox have 4 guys on the IL for Tommy Johns right now. That is.
See, I do wonder, and again, I know a lot of people are down on this club, the Tigers, and I don't blame them. The Tigers have played their way into people being down on them. But I still wonder if the White Sox can go the distance. You know, do they have the depth? Are they going to make it through the end of September? You can say the same thing about the Tigers, but we know the Tigers have proven from June 1 until last Friday night, they were playing some damn good baseball. And there's no reason why, if they get a couple breaks and a couple guys get hot, they couldn't do it again.
I mean, I get you, but like I feel like we've been kind of saying that all year, and I feel that way about the Minnesota Twins too. It's like there's no way the Minnesota Twins are 500 or more better baseball team, right? Well, here we are, 127 games in, they're 2 games under 500. The White Sox, I mean, they're 5 games over. It's not huge. But I feel like I've been waiting for them to fall off for a long time, and they haven't yet, you know? And I'm looking, it looks like they have scored the most runs in the American League now. I'm sure scoring all those runs against the Tigers helped.
They hit a lot of home runs, and home runs win ball games, you know, and that, you know, ball go far, team go far. But I'm just, with 30-something games left, one bad week could see them tumble if it's timed with a decent week by the Tigers. You know, 1 6-game losing streak, and all hell breaks loose in the standings. And it doesn't take much for that to happen. And also, the Tigers do have 4 head-to-head matchups left with the White Sox in Chicago, granted, but you know the Tigers have had success on the road. So I'm not saying the Tigers are going to pull this off in the next month, but I'm not willing to write it off yet. Now, if they go get swept by the Royals, then we can talk on Monday.
Right, and that's.
But I think that some people are switching to football a little too quick.
I don't know. This week, that thought definitely crossed my mind. I did start checking some fantasy football rankings, but no, I am still really invested in this season. I did put this out. I am along for the ride, no matter what, because I'm almost positive the Tigers will be in the running until the end of the season. I don't think fans will be happy. I don't think I'm super happy about the fact that I do think that they will be hovering around that third wild card the rest of the year. And part of it is because it doesn't seem like any other team wants it.
There is that.
That is a big part of it. I mean, hold on. I was trying to pull up the schedule, and then I just noticed that all of these teams, Houston is losing 14-2 to Houston right now.
White Sox lost.
White Sox lost. Cleveland, I guess Cleveland took a game here. But it feels like a lot of teams in front. Now, that being said, we keep saying this. They now have 6 teams to pass in those standings. Is kind of let's hold on. I got this here. So let's kind of look at these standings. Before we talk a little bit about this KC series, which, like you said, like a bad week can change things for the White Sox. Well, another bad week could completely change things for the Tigers. The Tigers are currently behind the Minnesota Twins, Toronto Blue Jays, the Texas Rangers, and now the Cleveland Guardians with their win. They are now behind those teams. Now, Baltimore lost, which means that Baltimore is now a half game behind the Tigers. And the Mariners just doesn't really look like they're a very good baseball team.
They got beat too.
They have 4 teams ahead of them as of right now. They're going to have to overcome a lot of guys. And then, we haven't even really talked anything about the Toronto Blue Jays, who sold at the deadline. And they're now a half game out of the playoff spot. They were kind of an afterthought, and now they're kind of coming out of nowhere. So there's a lot that has to happen. And that's kind of the reason that I brought up, at least they're fun to watch, because they're going to score some runs. Their bullpen's going to give you a heart attack, is kind of just the recipe where we're at. Now, Harry Carpenter, says you can close games for them. That's kind of the whole point. They don't really have anybody that can close games for them. I think it would suit them well to go and maybe toward that pitching chaos. I think it makes sense for them to go to like a closer by committee, which they kind of did earlier in the year as well. If AJ wants to play those matchups so heavily, then why don't you just do that by the inning and just decide who has the best matchups in that 9th inning? At this point, I don't know who you trust in a leverage situation at all. So I don't see that as a bad decision. Maybe just look at the 9th inning as any other inning and just try to see if somebody claims that role or if somebody can handle it. I don't know.
My hunch is if he's healthy, they're going to run Kenley Jansen out there 4 times out of 5 that they have a save opportunity here in the last month.
This is my hopes, not my expectations,
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, again, he got by, as we mentioned earlier in the show. He got by for quite a while there. And is he now, what happened in Pittsburgh, is that him bottoming out? And is he going to bounce back a little bit and get by for a few more weeks? I think that's probably what Detroit is going to hope for.
Right. Now, looking at these next games, we have Troy Melton kicking it off in this weekend series at Kansas City. 8-10 game there. Troy Melton is pitching against Cameron.
Noah Cameron
is open. Yes. So we have Noah Cameron against Troy Melton. After that, we have Drew Anderson versus Mike Waka. And then Framber Valdez versus Daniel Lynch the 4th. Oh, what a cringy name. Daniel Lynch the 4th.
Yeah.
But this is
Michael Waka always scares me. It seems like they just never they've gotten to Waka maybe once over the years, but they just never. It always seems like the Tigers are down 2-0 when Waka leaves.
All right, hold on. We can actually now. This is why stats are fun. You bring that up. I can.
Well, it's probably the opposite.
Here. We can find exactly. What was that?
This will probably be like when everybody thought Bruce Chen killed the Tigers, and the Tigers actually had like a 7 ERA against the Tigers.
Let me give you these stats. All right.
Okay.
The Tigers against Michael Walker. I mean, it says he only has 2 games against the Tigers, which is
that's it.
Wild. But
all time
against the Tigers. You know what? It's because they have interleague games mixed in. I don't know. So maybe it was while he was in there. But in these 2 games that Baseball References has, the Tigers slashed 160, 236, 300 against him. They had a 0.175 BABIP and an OPS plus of 53. So you're not wrong. He does kind of dominate them here.
Yeah. That's the one that worries me. I think they can get to Noah Cameron. He's a lefty, I believe, isn't he? And
I'm sorry.
And can they get a good start out of Drew Anderson? That's going to be interesting to watch there in that ballpark.
I mean, man, you're walking right into my traps here. I've got another. Let me see if I can find this before we wrap things up here. Drew Anderson has interesting splits depending on the inning. So hold on, let me find this here. He's actually so much better earlier in the game. Well, maybe I should look things up before I bring things up. In the first 2 innings, he has not given up a run. In the 3rd inning, he's given up 5 runs in 5 2/3 innings. In the 5th innings, he's given up 6 runs. Okay, so this was a complete fail.
So 1 trip through the order, he's solid.
Yeah, right?
I think that's how we can say it.
Right, exactly. Now, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's scary, Will, here. I mean, if you look now, I don't know how. Now, if you look at stuff, if you look at pure Arsenal, spin rates, those things, Drew Summers has the making of a great bullpen arm.
Mm-hmm.
He's young, and I'm not ready to see Big Drew Summer end, honestly. I love seeing him out there. Yeah. I'm kind of, and maybe you can be a little scared, but you see the potential there.
It's just nice to see someone with a lively fastball out of that bullpen, because the Tigers have some. I mean, even like Tyler Holton is a very good pitcher, right? But he's not lighting up radar guns, blowing people away. He has to kind of finesse his way through things. Right? Summers can kind of rear back and kind of do a brute force to get through a batter.
Yeah, I mean, Tigers don't have anybody like that. Granted, I think I don't know enough about the guys they got the trade deadline, because I know they added a ton of arms, and they were lacking strikeouts going through the trade deadline, or strikeout pitch, real strikeout guys. But I mean, this series is huge. Now, I think the last time I made a bit of an ultimatum, it was the last time that we were going into the second half of that Kansas City series, where they played 4 games against Kansas City. Mm-hmm. And we were like, if they can pull this out, then they're going to be looking real pretty in that wild card spot. Instead, Kansas City takes the second half of the 4-game series. They win the last 2, and then the Tigers lose the series to Baltimore, and then the sky was falling again.
Yep.
So I've been using Kansas City as that ultimate litmus test lately, because it seems like every time they need to beat them in a big moment, they lose that series. And it's so lame. Like, Michael Garcia went out again, and he's injured again for the Kansas City Royals. Like, they really just don't have a competent baseball team. And they really need this series.
They really do. They got to keep, Bobby Witt has not had an electric year like he has in other years. They have to keep him quiet and, keep Pasquantino and Sal Perez in the park. If you can do those things, then they got a good shot. So we'll see. They should be fine. I'm confident they can win 2 out of 3 if they, play their brand of baseball.
Yeah, and I will be attending that race here. So, and then they have a homestand against Tampa Bay Rays and Los Angeles Dodgers, 2 of the best teams in baseball. So,
we'll pitch. That'll be fun.
Yeah, we're gonna.
I just think that homestand. I know people won't be. A lot of people aren't satisfied when I say things like this, but if you told me that if you would give me 3-3 in that homestand, I would take it right now. I wouldn't even think twice.
I mean, I agree with you, but I think that comes with. I would be more okay with a 3-3 week if they sweep this Kansas City series. Okay. I'm not digging into analytics. It's just I need them to show me some sort. I need them to show me that they can keep it going against poor teams, but like consistently. Just statistically speaking, the Tigers should wallop this team. And I think that if they want to show us that they're capable, and now people have brought it up this whole show in the comments. We're running out of time. We're running out of answers. They have 37 games left. Like, there's no more time to be like, well, they could do this. And I know you're a bit more positive than me when it comes to that stuff, but like, I feel like the 3-3 being okay, that was okay even 2-3 weeks ago. It's time to shit or get off the pot.
Yes, I understand. If they, let's just say from my perspective, if they went 2-1 this weekend and then 3-3 on the homestand, that's 5-4. Nothing wrong with that. They gained probably some ground on a couple teams. Now you've dragged the ball across the finish line of August, and you're in September, and the schedule gets, I think, in my mind, a little more favorable because you're playing intra-division, where you can now try to, take some divisional games in September. I think they would have a good chance if they can just get to. They have to get to September with a viable chance, and then we'll see what happens.
I mean, yeah, and then they start off September at Minnesota and makeup game at Cleveland, and then home against Minnesota. So
other games got to win.
Division games. It really is time, though. It's time to show us what they're made of. I know that it seems like we don't really know how we feel if they're going to make it or not, but like I think on this show we've just agreed that we're riding the roller coaster. We're riding the ups, we're riding the downs, and let's hopefully see something this week. But I think that's going
to be a big factor.
And, we kind of avoided them all show, but, man, the offense really looks like it could use a solid on-base kind of guy who gives you some pop in left field, maybe. Just, I don't know. Maybe people missing him a little bit.
Especially now that Torkelson's hot streak seems to have quieted a little. He went hitless in Pittsburgh.
Exactly. So we are going to have to see some guys step up. I know we got some questions. Riley Green, he's not going to be back by our next show, unfortunately. So we'll tackle that more maybe next week. We appreciate everybody for listening here, but that's going to do it for tonight for Motor City Metrics. For you, I am Mike Papchak. You can find us anywhere you find your podcast. We did get iTunes working again as well, if that's how you use it. So thank you so much. Thanks. Stay